And welcome everybody, Don Giannetti, lighting-essentials.com and project52prosystem.com. This is part two of my series for 2021 called What Makes This Photo Great. Just about the day I bought my first camera, which is a Nikon F and a 43 to 86 zoom. And as much as I love Nikon, that was the worst lens ever, I think, made. But anyway, I still have it, never used it. I haven't used it in 30 years, but I still have it. Anyway, I met a photographer at one of the camera stores here when I was hanging out, and he said he was a big fan of Art Kane, and I didn't know who Art Kane was. So I went to the library and looked him up and found out a little bit about him. There wasn't much to be known. He was a working commercial editorial photographer in New York City. But I started to see his name appear on all the magazines. Back in those days, we didn't have the internet. We didn't even have cars. Horses were a new thing, to give you a perspective. But I looked up these magazines, and I was getting probably, I want to say 25, 30 magazine subscriptions a month. And I started to see this name, Art Kane, Art Kane, Art Kane. And it was everything: fashion, editorial, people, advertising. It's just everywhere. He became a big influence for me. I mean, I was just absolutely in love with the work that Art Kane did. Quiet man. Uh, he, uh, he wasn't big on touting his own horn. He was just a really, really great photographer. And I have a photograph here of Joe Louis we're going to look at, and I think it sums up everything that really made, I think, Kane great in my eyes, and what makes this photo great. And there's a few other shots we're going to look at, including a photograph that made Art Kane a household name for a few years, and it still is one of the most widely circulated photographs in the world. But let's take a look at Joe Louis here. He was hired to do a photograph of Joe Louis for a magazine. I can't remember if it was Esquire or Life or whatever. And Joe Louis was kind of, he'd been had his picture taken so many times. He was a boxer, in case you not know, he was a heavyweight champion boxer. And every time the photographer would come in and say, Joe, take your shirt off. Let's see those muscles. Joe, take your shirt off. And Kane said, let's let the man have some dignity here. He said, you don't have to take your shirt off. And the story is that Joe Louis just kind of was amazed that the photographer would do this. So Kane decided, I'm going to put him in this pea coat, going to have him in the frame, but we're going to feature the hands because he's a boxer. That's what he's all about. It really isn't about his body. When you synthesize down a boxer, it's really about the hands. So we have a blue pea coat, and we have a blue background with just a tinge of blue in the lighting. The lighting went very cold that day. Using a wide angle lens, as you can see here, I'm going to say a 28, maybe a 24. I don't really know. I'm not that privy to it, but I would guess 24, 28, somewhere around in there. We get these hands coming right towards the picture. We get this jacket with the collar up, and we get this man looking off with an expression that doesn't tell us really much other than he's a little bit in pain, maybe. I don't know. He's not smiling. It's not a happy picture. It's a powerful picture. It's so much more powerful than having Joe Louis stand there with some boxing gloves on. It just synthesized everything. And technique-wise, we have a light from the side, of course. The light on the background slips around behind Joe Louis to give a little bit of an outline over here, just right in the feather of that light, enough so that we have the outline. If you want to know which Instagram filter was used, well, actually there wasn't any. This is shot on film, 35 millimeter, probably, knowing Art Kane, 35 millimeter Kodachrome. So absolutely stunning shot by Art Kane. One of my favorite photographs of all time. And moving on here, we're going to go to another time where Art Kane used his I guess emotional IQ here. Louis Armstrong, getting older in life. Again, there was so many pictures taken of Louis Armstrong, who was also called Satchmo, with his big grin and his trumpet, and everything was big grins and trumpet and over the top kind of stuff. And Art Kane took him out on a little lonely highway. I believe I want to say Texas, but I don't really have that much of a recollection of the exact spot. But the lonely road and a rocking chair and the sunset. If you think about this older, aging jazz trumpet player, everybody goes through cycles, everybody goes through their ups and downs, everybody has their heyday, and then they have the sunset years, and that's what he presented here. It's absolutely stunning portrait of Louis Armstrong in the later years of his life in a rocking chair on a road in Texas. How amazing is that? But he wasn't just the older people that he brought his amazingly emotional IQ to. It's also young people. Do you recognize Sonny and Cher? Jumping into the pool with their clothes on, living for life. We go from Louis Armstrong at the end of his days to Sonny and Cher. They're young, they're unafraid, they're diving in, they're reaching down towards him. He's down in the bottom of the pool with a Mykonos. And a brilliant portrait of two icons of their day that were known to be wild and crazy and silly and wacky and all those things. And he did this stunning portrait. Sonny and Cher in a pool, I believe, in Palm Springs. Had to shoot Jim Morrison. Didn't have any time, didn't have any room, didn't have any place to shoot him. This is photographed in the hall or in the closet area in his hotel room in, I believe, New York City or Paris. I don't remember, but it was a hotel room. And they wheeled the TV in and put on a black and white show. Happened to have this scene, and they were shooting. I believe this is Marilyn Monroe. They were shooting as the picture was just the movie or TV show was going. You can see the lines in the TV weren't synced with the camera. And Jim Morrison was simply a strobe light up on the wall behind Art Kane, and that's the shot of just a compelling photograph. So different than Sonny and Cher diving in here. Morrison, probably taken around the same time, but Morrison was a different individual, a different aesthetic, a different thing to present. You have him kneeling behind an icon of pop culture, the television, with another icon of pop culture, Marilyn Monroe. It's just brilliant things. And yes, this was all serendipitous. They didn't have VCRs to play this thing. It just happened to be what was on the TV at the time. Probably one of the most famous shots that Art Kane did is famous for different reasons, and that's one called A Great Day in Harlem. This was an idea of a record producer there to bring 57 of the world's best jazz players together on a Harlem street for a portrait. And that's what you have here. This is like amazing. This is the Jazz Legends. I have a print of this. Down below in the description, you'll find a link that'll take you to a page, and it'll give you the names of every jazz player on this picture. Just incredible. What makes the picture great, though? Let's back up a little bit. Composition, of course, works really well. Those of you who shoot groups, I think you'll notice that everybody's face shows. That's an accomplishment right there. But just getting 57 people together to do a portrait on a city street, amazing patience. Made even more amazing by these youngsters up front. who were just the kids there on the street, and they were not having this picture. They were everywhere, running around, getting in the way, clowning around, as kids will do. So the genius of Art Kane is, hey, let's make them part of the picture. Once they became part of the picture, they settled right down and did their part because it was important to them. One of the greatest photographs in jazz music, Art Kane's A Great Day in Harlem. I'm just a big fan of his work and the way he approaches everything that he did, and the subtleness of it. I mean, maybe some photographers would look at this and go, well, yeah, how did he light it? Or, this guy's a little out of focus, and all that crap. It doesn't matter. Look at this photograph. Look at the placement of the three guys in the black suits with the white shirts and going around. Look at the subtle composition. Back to dark on the sides and dark on the sides. It's all so controlled and so perfectly put together. Art Kane's infamous, I guess, Great Day in Harlem. Jim Morrison in a hotel closet, Sonny and Cher in Palm Springs taking a dive. Absolutely stunning shot of Louis Armstrong, and one of my favorite portraits of all time of Joe Louis, the boxer, taken by Art Kane. What makes this photograph great? It's the photographer's eye and their emotional intelligence to get in there and pull something more than just a picture when he has the subject to do it. Hey, look, if you like this series, hit the subscribe button. There's one to come every Monday for the year of 2021. We'll have 52 great photographs, and I don't know what we'll do in 2022. Maybe we'll have, I don't know, something else, but maybe we'll stick with it. Maybe definitely stick with it. There's a lot of great photographs out there. I'm showing you kind of like a little bit in chronological order how they came into my life. Gary Perwheeler and Art Kane, these people were right up there at the beginning of my career. We'll go through it, but I will also be throwing in some very contemporary and well-known names from today. Well, maybe not well-known unless you're a commercial photographer, but still great stuff. Thanks for coming along. See you next time on What Makes This Photo Great. Thanks.